Good evening, Cyclones everywhere. Welcome to our second Class for a Cause virtual event. I'm Chelsea Trowbridge on staff at the ISU Alumni Association, and joining me behind the scenes are ISUAA staff Matt Van Winkle and Katie Lichtai. They're already popping on to say hello.
Hello.
They're going to help me behind the scenes. So some of you are already familiar with our events and you've already started doing this, but in the chat, can you let us know where you're watching from and who you're watching with? Are you guys with a group? We were kind of hoping that people would do that. And so then to get things started on a fun note, we're going to give away 2 $15 gift cards to the ISU bookstore. Congrats to Gerlando Jackson from Wisconsin and Julie Blanchard from Arizona. Exciting, guys. We'll be in touch with you soon on how to claim your prize. And for everyone else, be on the lookout for your name throughout the event tonight because we have a few more prizes to give out. So this Class for a Cause virtual event was created last year in response to not being able to hold our annual Cardinal and Gold Gala event in person. As we were planning the return of our in-person gala event, we didn't want to lose the connection a virtual event allows with Cyclones everywhere. So we changed the format just a bit to include an actual tasting. Here we are. We may have some people with us tonight who aren't familiar with the Cardinal and Gold Gala program, which is in its 11th year. I would like to introduce a familiar face to share some more information with you all the way from California. Here is the Laura and Russ Talbot, President and CEO of the ISU Alumni Association, Jeff Johnson. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Chelsea. Good to see you. Hope you're staying warm in Iowa. You mentioned I'm in California. I am. And if anyone is concerned, I'm not out here interviewing. I'm actually connecting with Cyclones everywhere. We've had some great visits in LA. We're in San Diego right now. And so if you're out and about and in Temecula, or in this case, Torrey Pines, which is where I am tonight, please let me know. Love to see if we can maybe grab dinner, grab lunch, let you buy me breakfast. But no, thanks for joining us this evening. Absolutely incredible to have this format. And as Chelsea said, we were very happy as we're still addressing COVID that we have these unique ways that we can connect with each other. But our Cardinal and Gold program debuted back in 2011. It was a unique way for us to go into our largest alumni market, not just in the state of Iowa, but in the world, and that's right there in Des Moines, Iowa. And to create an opportunity for us to do a dress-up event, we elected to do it around the Valentine's theme and bring people together for an opportunity just to be together, to separate or to celebrate Iowa State, and to have this unique opportunity to do it in this market. We are now expanding this program and taking it to Kansas City. And I'm going to let a cat out of the bag tonight. If we have success in Kansas City, and I'm sure we will look to have Cardinal and Gold Galas in other places around the country. So just stay tuned. The goals of this program provides a signature event for our alumni who live in these areas, but it also raises funds to support things like first-generation scholarships, support student and alumni programming, and do what we can to also support student leadership. And so as we move forward, there may be opportunities here for us to support our Legacy Club, which is set aside to help grow up young Cyclones and their families and help families direct their children to Iowa State. But through the 10 years of this event in Des Moines, we've also had the opportunity to endow 6 scholarships, one for each college. And each of those scholarships are now fully funded into an endowment that churns out about $12,000 to $15,000 a year, which allows us to give one $2,000 scholarship to each student in each of those colleges. But I want to just end my part here tonight to say we are honored that these scholarships led the way to a number of other alumni who became interested in endowing their own first-generation scholarships, many because they too were first-generation students. Others were just inspired by the concept and got to meet some of these incredible students who were the first in their family to go to college, and those individuals chose Iowa State University. And we want to see more and more students in the state of Iowa who don't have the means and the ability, or maybe some cases only have the dream but don't know how to spark it, to end up at Iowa State. And these scholarships give us a unique way to invest in their education. But at the heart of this program is what tonight's program is about. It's about connecting Cyclones everywhere. And so thank you again for joining us. Chelsea, I'm going to turn things back over to you. But again, to all of our guests tonight, thank you for being here, and thanks for being Iowa State in your community.
Absolutely. So even if you aren't planning to attend either event this year, you can participate in it and support the programs mentioned by Jeff from anywhere through our online auction. Another thing that came out of COVID for us was taking our silent auction virtual. So you can still do that this year. We're excited to offer it nationwide. The link in the chat will take you to the auction page. If you're attending in person, don't register. You'll automatically be registered, so you can bid when it opens. But if you aren't attending, you can register by clicking Get Started. Again, thanks for joining us, Jeff. I hope you're enjoying California. Your window looks much nicer than out my window.
I am enjoying California, but I want to be on record. I am working.
Yep. So as Jeff, so I just want to take a moment to thank Alumni Association members. Events and opportunities like this are made possible in part by membership dues. And so to help, we partnered with the ISU Culinary Food Science Department and Kings Family Distillery to send some pre-event member-only benefits. The Food Science Department created a great little Charcuterie 101 tip sheet and food pairing that I use to create my own charcuterie board.
Wow.
So I can snack on it tonight. And King's Family also offered our members a discount code for a future purchase and some special bourbon cocktail recipe cards. So a huge thanks to them as well. But before we introduce our next guest and start the bourbon tasting, let's give away another prize. We're going to give away a set.
Chelsea, my glass is empty.
You know what? I couldn't send you with liquor. Sorry.
Oh boy. Long
So
night.
let's give away another prize. Let's do a set of these really cute ISU Stone coasters. Congrats to Diane Willoit from Ohio. We'll be in touch with you on how to get your prize. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Cara and Justin King of Kings Family Distillery in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Cara is a 2006 graduate from Iowa State with a degree in liberal studies. Cara and Justin, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you both for everything you've done behind the scenes to make this happen. There were lots of logistics involved with getting liquor into our special bundle and shipped out. So I really appreciate all your work to make this happen.
And Cara, before you start, again, thank you. And Justin, as we said earlier tonight, welcome to the family.
Thank you.
So just a reminder to everyone watching that you can ask questions throughout the tasting in the chat box. We have Katie and Matt monitoring. So if your question doesn't get answered during the tasting, we'll make sure that Cara and Justin see it before we sign off. With that, Cara and Justin, I'm going to turn it over to you guys to start our tasting. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I think first I'll just start by saying thank you guys all for joining us today. It's awesome to be able to get our brand out there, especially to people all over the United States. There's no better way to really do it than having an alumni event for my alma mater. But first, I think we should start with some bourbon. Mm-hmm. What do you think, hon?
I think so.
Okay, so our first SKU that we have, our first product, is our signature bourbon. It's 87 proof. It's 99% corn and 1% malted barley. We are very transparent about the fact that we source all of our products. My background is in the procurement side of the whiskey industry. So after Iowa State, I bounced around from some startup jobs here, or entry-level jobs here and there. And then my dad, who was a grain broker specifically for the whiskey industry, asked me, hey, do you want a job? And I said, well, does it pay more? And do I get to travel? Well, yeah. Okay, cool. Sounds good. So I started being a salesperson for rye, specifically for the whiskey industry. So I entered the commodities market. I got to know people at places like Brown-Forman, Beam Brands, et cetera. That's how Justin and I met. He was the master distiller actually at Old Smoky Moonshine. And we met in 2013 in Denver. But that being said, we have our 99% corn mash bill. It's 87 proof, and this will be aged 4 to 5 years. If you smell it, how I would recommend tasting is really however you want to, but you want to nose the product. We use Glencairn's, but you can use any glass that you like. And then you kind of figure out, like, what are you smelling? Justin, what would you say are the predominant aromas?
So on this bourbon, with it being 99% corn, it's very sweet.
Yes.
That's the first thing you pick up on this one. It's very easy to drink. To me, this is just a good entry-level bourbon.
Yeah, in our store, now our store is located just outside of Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and that's our biggest outlet for our product in general. And when people walk in, they say, "Hey, can I try a bourbon?" This is the bourbon that they generally pick up because it's easy. You can drink it neat, you can drink it on the rocks, you can drink it with Coke, you can put it in a Manhattan. It's really versatile. So, and if anybody has any questions, let us know at any time, and we'll try to answer them as they come. And no, it's not Iowa corn because the distillery is in Indiana that we source from. So I'm sorry, I'm trying, but not yet. There's very little, if any, burn. How about you, Justin? What do you taste? I just taste sweet. Justin's palate, I usually defer to him because he's been distilling since, forever. So he actually learned how to distill from his grandmother in the hills of Appalachia. Like, no joke.
I just love this stuff. It's sweet. It's good. It's a good sipper.
Yeah, you get a little bit of corn notes, but not as many as you would think.
You don't have rice spice on this one. You don't have a bite. It just goes down easy. That's what I like about it.
Well, very good. And if anybody has any comments about it or what they taste, please feel free to say something or type something, I should say. So that's our first one. That was the first bourbon that we came out with. We chose the 99% corn mash bill because it's unusual that you find that in a single barrel. Now, all of our products, all 3 products that you ordered, are all single barrel products. Everything we do, if it can be single barrel, it is single barrel. Mostly because our facility is so small, we can only take in a barrel to 2 barrels or process a barrel or 2 barrels at a time. May as well make it a single barrel. So next up, I have our wheated bourbon. Now, Justin, do you want to talk a little bit about the wheated bourbon? I think you like wheated bourbon better than I do.
I do. And this is, wheated bourbon is a lot of the craze today. Buffalo Trace products, Wilderness Trail. There's a lot of people that are doing wheated bourbons, and they became very popular. And this wheated bourbon is the highest wheat mash bill on the market. So it's 45% wheat, 51 corn, and 4 malt. True single barrel, aged 5 years. And this one is just very, very unique to the market because nobody's doing anything this high wheat. And we're doing true single barrels. We do proof this one down to 100 proof. In my opinion, the water that we're using does lend well to this. And if you get a chance to be in East Tennessee, we are doing some single barrels at barrel proof, which is just icing on the cake. But this is a product that I personally drink a lot. Actually had it last night in cocktails, and I just like it. I think it's great. I think it's a very amazing distillate that we're putting out.
I get like notes caramel. I get creme brulee on this barrel. Now, each of you may have a different barrel than what we're drinking too, just based on the fact that we have to use a fulfillment center, which I'm sure there were a few shipping issues here and there. It's with shipping liquor. Sucks, kind of. But-
I'm going to pop in really quick with some questions. So Dan asked, how long do you age your bourbon?
We age our bourbon. We kind of go by what I like to call the 4 roses method, which is it's done when it's done. So it could be like 4 years. Right now, everything we have in store is between 5 and 6 years. Everything that was sent to you guys is late 4 to more around 5 years. But yeah, I would say we try to hit a good sweet spot of like no more really than 8 years. Personally, I think it can start to get a little too oaky. And when you're using single barrels as much as we are, you can get more variance from barrel to barrel the older it gets.
So then are you just tasting is that how you figure out when you say it's done, it's done?
Yeah, correct. So with us, we're very, like, we have 8 barrels sitting outside right now that once this call is over tonight, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go through all 80 barrels. And we're going to deem where those barrels are.
I hope Cara's driving home today.
Yeah,
I am.
She is. So that's part of what we do on a daily, weekly basis is we're constantly tasting. We're constantly going through, like, what is our consistent product to our consumer? And that's, we work hard to, I guess, have the dream job of tasting through those to figure out what that is. So that's a big part of our life now is tasting bourbon on the hour and saying, hey, let's bottle this and let's bottle that. And let's give, our people this premium product.
Yep. So I have another question from Gloria. Are all 3 of tonight's samples MGP?
Yes, they are. And for those of you who don't know, MGP stands for Midwest Grain Producers, right? Products. Sorry, I always get it mixed up. What it is it's a distillery outside of Cincinnati in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, and it was actually the base for the Seagram's group back before the Seagrams sold off all of their labels, all of their distilleries for the other things that they've now been doing. After that, they were owned by, I think, Pernod. So that was in the mid 2000s. Angostura was in there for a minute. Then it was called Lawrenceburg Distilling Incorporated. And then MGP bought it. MGP is actually out of Atchison, Kansas, right outside of Kansas City. Their home base is. So it's actually kind of funny because Justin gets to go down to Kansas City all the time. And I'm just like, well, I mean, I'd kind of like to get back to the Midwest too, but whatever. It's fine. But yeah, all 3 are MGP products. I used to be the sole supplier of rye to MGP. So when I had that job, I worked really closely on quality control for them. I got to know their quality control team, all of their barrel tasters, their distillers, everybody. So I still work quite closely with their team to make sure that I'm getting the barrels that I like, the barrels that I want, to make sure that it's in like what I buy, I'll figure out where it is in a warehouse, based on that, that is kind of what dictates what I purchase.
Awesome. I'm going to go through a few more questions because we've gotten a few more, and give people a chance to maybe finish up that first taste. Can you explain the difference between a whiskey and a bourbon?
Okay. Whiskey is like the overall, it's the umbrella term. So what you have Scotch, you have Canadian whiskey, you have blended whiskey, bourbon is a whiskey. And bourbon specifically has a legal designation that was legislated in 1968, we'll just call it late 60s, legislated in the late 60s, where it has to be at least 51% corn. It has to be distilled in the United States. It has to touch a new charred white oak barrel, right?
Yep.
And it can't be distilled over 160 proof. So most bourbon does come from Kentucky, and that is what's called Kentucky bourbon, but you can also have Tennessee bourbon. You can have Alaska bourbon. there are some bourbons coming out of Iowa. I know I've seen a couple on the market and they're quite good. I've seen some.
There's a small company called Templeton that's doing bourbon. You guys probably know.
Yes, they do have a bourbon. They were rye whiskey to start, but they have
Correct.
a bourbon now?
Yeah, they do.
Cool. There you go. So bourbon it's just a specific designation of whiskey. So whiskey is basically grain alcohol aged, and then bourbon has to check those other little marks.
Okay, a couple more. How many bottles or cases do you guys make in a year? Do you know?
Right now, we've been open since 2018, and every year we've grown like crazy. So this last year, 2021, we topped 5,000 6-pack cases, so 4.5 liter cases. So we're growing, but the majority of it is out of our front door. I think we do like 1/8 of that out in distribution, which is basically just East Tennessee out in our fulfillment center as well for online orders. And we just expanded into Middle Tennessee and West Tennessee. Middle Tennessee being Nashville region, West Tennessee being Memphis. So we're very small.
Yeah. Can you guys tell us more? I'm going to have us jump back just a second. Yeah. Tell us more about how you guys started your distillery.
Oh, absolutely. Well, 10 years ago, before I met Justin, I was of the mindset, I am never starting a craft distillery. That would be like the dumbest thing I could ever do. Fast forward to now. But in between then and now, after Justin and I met, he had told me that he had wanted to start his own more whiskey forward tasting room here in the Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg area, because we have so many tourists that come through, and it's a tourist town. You get a lot of walking traffic and drive-through traffic. People see you, they want to taste some bourbon. Okay, that sounds good. And I was just kind of bucking it. And after we had our son in 2016, I was starting to kind of get more homebound, and I wanted to be around a lot because obviously we have a baby and I want to be with the family. And I'd been traveling quite a bit before that for my job. And instead of traveling anymore, we took the leap. We were driving past a building one day, the building that we're in currently, and decided that we should probably ask if, we thought it was the perfect location. We called the landlord. There wasn't even a sign up to see if it was for rent, but we called, it was for rent. We looked at it. We said, okay. We started applying for all of our federal permits and then our state permits, and it all just kind of fell into place. I left my job in the spring of 2018, which was hard because it's it was a family company that I was with, but they were not hurt at all. They were actually very happy for me. Also, they figured they would get a family discount on whiskey, but so we started in 2018, opened our doors in October of 2018 with just vodka. Shortly after, we started bottling our whiskeys, and our product line now contains, I think we have 15 different SKUs that we sell at any given time. Anything from flavored whiskeys to the more traditional whiskeys that we're tasting tonight. We have a line of vodkas that we sell just for those who, don't drink whiskey and want something here. So we try to appeal to the masses with a very wide array of products available in store, but our heart is in the whiskey part of it for sure.
100%.
That's awesome. So I've had a couple of requests for people asking you guys to tell us what you like to pair with your bourbons, and then also how you like to drink them. So as you're going, as we continue going through, people would love to hear that.
Okay, and I can backtrack too. So the first bourbon, honestly, I like it with a really tasty ginger ale. I know it's like so many people are, I don't know, or so, you have to drink and eat, or only one ice cube, or it has to be one of those whiskey ball things or the whiskey stones. No, I think ginger ale with that bourbon is out of this world.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'll speak to this a little bit. We have an 11-year-old daughter, bonus daughter to Cara, but she loves L8, and it's a Kentucky-based ginger ale, and it's very, very unique. And we drink a lot of things with L8 because it is so good. It's just excellent craft ginger ale.
Yeah, it's made for whiskey. So that first one we drink with that. And next we'll go to that wheated bourbon. Can we move forward? I don't. You guys are kind of driving.
Yeah, no, that's good. We were just trying to give people a little bit of time to finish maybe that first one, and then let's keep talking about the wheated.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, and I'm pouring like tiny, tiny pours, right? Because again, we taste so much. I don't want to get completely hammered during my alumni event. That would be only slightly embarrassing. So next we have our wheated bourbon. Justin, let me pour some for you as well. And Justin did talk a little bit about the wheated bourbon. It is a 45% wheat mash bill. Again, it's another MGP product, and it's a unique product to MGP. I don't think anybody else, like Justin said, does that high of a wheat mash bill, especially with a 4% malted barley backing it up. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of higher malt whiskeys, so MGP doesn't really do anything unless it's actually a malt whiskey. They don't do a whole lot of high malt mash bills, so that's why I glean a lot toward their products in general. But this wheated bourbon has a very earthy tone to it. So if you smell it, I think I had mentioned I got creme brulee on that, and then I also get almost some tartness to it as well. If you stick your nose down in there, don't be afraid. And breathe a little bit through your mouth as well, just to get the aroma in there. And Justin, what do you get?
There's a ton of caramel on this. I get a ton of tobacco too, which there's a lot of people that can relate to.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up in the South. We used to cut tobacco and hang it in the barn every year. It's a totally different thing. But anyway, I get a ton of that.
I get like green grapes. I do. Weird. I don't know. And another thing about tasting whiskey in general, there's no right or wrong answer at all. I might smell something or pick up on something that Justin's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Kind of like right now.
Apricot.
Yeah.
Ton of that. Stone fruit.
Yep. So, and then on the palate,
on the palate though, it changes a lot. It's all stone fruit.
Yep. Lots of apricot.
And that's where I get that tobacco smell when I was a kid, planting it and hanging it in the barn and all that stuff we did.
Yeah.
I get all those aromas and tastes and smells, and it all fits, and that's all different. I mean, everybody's different in the bourbon world. Everybody grows up differently. You grow up eating different things, drinking different things. And when you get older as a person, those things come back to you.
Yeah, you draw on a lot of your life experience on, your perspective. Everybody's perspective is going to be different coming to whatever they're doing, and that lends to tasting whiskey as well. For me, this one, I get it's very tame to me, especially at 100 proof. Like it tastes like it has less alcohol than the first one to me, but it actually has more. And I think that is more of the wheat interacting in there than anything. Wheat tends to soften the flavor and kind of tamp it down. It's just a lot softer of a flavor profile. So,
and this is a soft winter wheat.
There you go.
So that's where that lends a lot of that taste profile to what we're drinking.
Yeah. So you can open it up for questions on this one as well. Ooh, how much angel share do we lose per barrel? It all depends. It depends on where it has been in the where.
Jeffrey, that's a good question. As a distiller, we think we lose 10% the first year and 2 to 3% every year after. That's standard loss. But we do have things show up empty. I mean, it's a wood barrel. It's not guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. And that's also average of all, however many
barrels
there are in the rick house and on which levels they are as well. So
correct.
The higher levels are probably going to have quicker loss, whereas the lower levels, the ones that stay cooler, they're going to have less loss over time. But you also get fluctuations in flavor profile based on where they are in the warehouse as well. So, all right, John asked us, do we ferment the alcohol that we distill? No, we do not. We actually source in all of our base alcohol. So it's already distilled and aging when it is a whiskey, or it's already distilled when it is what's called a white good, which would be we use some what's called light whiskey. We also use neutral spirits in our vodka line. So no, we don't do any fermentation here as of right now. That is always open in the future, but right now we are purely sourcing.
Okay, we have just a couple of questions about where you can get your bourbon. So is it available in Iowa? Is it located in Wisconsin? Do they just need to order from you?
At this point, you'll just need to order from us. If anybody knows any distributors in any other states, you can always feel free to make the connection. We are always looking to expand. But being a small family company, having it available online is the easiest way to get it to the most people. Kind of like you were saying with the Alumni Association doing more online events. It's just, it makes it so much more convenient. We're available in in Tennessee. We're available in the Atlanta area. And then we'll be in New York, New Jersey next month. And we're looking to expand into the upper Midwest, mostly because, I'm from there. It'd be really nice to have my stuff there, but things take time. So yeah, again, if anybody has anybody that they know, I'm always willing to talk to them.
So can you talk a little bit about, we talked about how you guys like or encourage people to drink, which is however they best like to taste it. Mm-hmm. What about any food pairings?
Wow. A lot of times you'll pair bourbon or the heavier brown liquor with like steak. You'll have it with hamburger. Justin, you can speak a lot to this as well. The heavier cheeses, the heavier.
Yeah, I'm somebody that I travel a lot and I've done a lot. And I always love a good glass of bourbon with charcuterie board, or I love it with a good garlic chicken. There's different things that I like to pair bourbon with. But you got to remember, too, I'm a wine guy. So I love my red and my white wine with different pairings, too. Not to go totally off place here. But on bourbons, yeah, just a good medium rare steak, and a good charcuterie board are my favorite pairings for just a neat bourbon.
And I would say like an after dinner drink for me, I would love an old fashioned and something rich, like a good, like a flourless chocolate cake or something dense, really that they pair so well together. I just think, and then something even like a cherry pie would be really good with a bourbon. I think
we love cherry pies here at Iowa State.
I know. I love that.
Yeah. So we have a couple of questions about barrels. First, how many barrels are you holding? And then a question from Malia, do you rotate your barrels around the rick house or leave them in the same spot, and why?
Currently, we have a couple hundred barrels at any given time. And they are all stored up in Indiana around Lawrenceburg in their rick houses. And they are not rotated.
Correct. And we don't want them rotated because when you rotate them, there's a huge risk for loss.
Yes, you can. They can be mishandled, even if
They
it's
can be damaged, dropped. We want them put where they're put originally because we want those barrels to mature in their own environment.
Yes, and that's how we pick our barrels too, is based on where they are aging in the rick house too. So we kind of have an idea of what the range of flavor profile is going to be based on that as well. So, no, we don't rotate our barrels.
Cool. So we can, if you guys are ready, we can move to the next one. We're out of questions, so people keep sending your questions in.
Very good. I'm dumping mine out because, again, I have to drive later. So next up, do you want to go grab another bottle of this one? I didn't realize we were so low on it. I've got well, of course, it's my favorite. It's the rye whiskey. So this mash bill is 51% rye, 45% corn, and 4% malted barley. Having been the rye broker, the main rye broker for the distilling industry, I actually know where the rye came from for these batches. I was procuring overseas. I also procured from the United States and Canada, but this particular batch was from Denmark, actually. One of the few times we've procured from Denmark. Usually Danish rye is priced too high, and there's enough in North America to fulfill the needs of the whiskey industry and the baking industry. However, this was one of those weird years that there, were a few crop wrecks up in Canada. The United States, the price just wasn't there, so nobody planted it in the fall, and it is a fall seeded crop. And so we had to look to the EU at that point to get a good portion of our stock for the year. So this, I actually went over and saw the boat loading in Fredericia, Denmark. It was pretty cool. It was a great excuse to get overseas. And then we brought a vessel over and unloaded it in New Orleans. And then we would ship it up the Mississippi and then up the Ohio and offload it in Louisville, Kentucky, where we had a grain elevator, and they still do have a grain elevator. So that is how we would bring our rye into the country. And then we would ship it off and truck it to any number of distilleries all over Kentucky, Indiana, and Tennessee. So this rye is a 51% rye mash bill. So it's very different than your Templeton rye, your Bullet rye, at 95% rye. It's going to be quite a bit softer and sweeter, but you're still going to get that rye spice that you really like. It's 90 proof. It's kind of that sweet spot at that rye, in my opinion. That's what I like. We also have done this particular product as a barrel proof option as well, and that was at about 109 proof, 109. Was it 115?
115.
Oh, wow, so it gained. Okay. But yeah, the nose is so round. What do you pick up, Justin?
On this one, this is my favorite thing that we do.
It is so good. Again, another really good one with ginger ale.
It's just my favorite thing we do. The nose is round. The spice is great. The sweetness is there.
The mouthfeel is so nice. It's balanced.
It's a very balanced, nice mouthfeel. But what happens with this one is when you drink it, you get all the heat up front, and then it all dissipates and goes away on the back. So like as you sip this, it's just very good to sip because you don't have an afterburn. Mm-hmm. You have burn up front and nothing on the back. Which is super odd
for a
rye whiskey. And that's what I like so much about it.
I love this one. Yeah, this is the house favorite. Now, Chelsea, what do you
get that?
I'm on with you guys. I've got my little plastic cups and I labeled them. I think I would love this with the ginger ale that you're talking about.
Mhm.
Every time you guys say that you can't taste any alcohol, I feel like my mouth is breathing fire.
We've been doing this for so long, though, that like I don't know if our mouths are immune to it or if our brains have just turned those sensors off.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just
You got to remember, we have days where we go through 25 barrels, and it's just that's our job. I mean, you have to be able to go through those and function, and you've got to be able to give your customer what they want, and that's what we're trained to.
Absolutely. So we had a question. Oh, sorry. We had a question about the rye, the Danish rye, and which batches of rye have the Danish rye in it.
All of the 51% rye batches. So right now we're on batch 19. You probably have a different batch than we do, but they are all Danish rye. They were all distilled. It's the same run that we bought the lot of barrels from. So it's all the same rye.
Awesome. So this is back to barrels.
Yeah.
Do you buy plain barrels and then char them, or does your distillery take care of the barrels? Do you reuse your barrels?
The distillery purchases their barrels from a number of different cooperages. There is Independent Stave. What's the one in Lebanon, Kentucky? Calvin Cooperage. There's Zach Cooperage there, and many cooperages have popped up since I don't know if it was news where you were, but I was living in Kentucky at the time, and the biggest news every day was the barrel shortage. There was a shortage of oak because it was too wet to go harvest the oak. Nobody could get into the groves, and so it was a whole hullabaloo. But yeah, so the cooperage will actually do that. They deliver the barrels, and then the barrels are filled with the distillate at the distillery, put in the rick house, and then when we want them, we call the distillery, we arrange shipping and have them shipped to our distillery. As far as reusing the barrels, we truly just sell the barrels for $50 outside our door, first come, first serve, because at this point, they're just byproduct. We have reused them. We have a honey finish series that we do twice a year, and we will take a barrel that we deem exceptional, coat it with honey on the inside, dump the honey out, put either bourbon or a rye whiskey back in that barrel, age it until it tastes good, and then bottle it from there. So we do some, but mostly we've served wedding venues around here with a ton of our barrels. People use them for home decor, for sinks. Yes.
And so back to the original question, number 4 char on all of our barrels.
Number 2 on the head.
Number 2 on the heads. And that's what we use.
Awesome. Okay, so from someone, I got a little note in my office with a question. As a young distillery, do you have any barrels that you are aging longer to create a rare label in the future?
Of course.
Okay, that was easy.
Of course.
Easy answer. Do you want to tell us any more about that?
I will let Cara tell you about that, because this is her project, and this is what makes me excited. We've got a ton of older stuff we're pushing on that's rye based that I'm super excited and happy about, because I want to put her face on it.
Cara, that's exciting.
Yes.
That's news to her. But no, we have a ton of stuff going forward that we are holding back, and I want her super involved just because she is rye lady.
Yeah, we have a series of double oaked rye that we do. It's called Ryconic. It is available online, and it's a cask strength single barrel. It won Best of Show at the North American Bourbon and Whiskey competition a couple years ago, beating out all the majors. It was kind of where we first really made a splash in the industry. But yeah, we're holding a lot of those barrels back to do more of the single barrel series. A lot of it we'll do online. A lot of it we'll do some barrel finishes as well. We have a toasted line that we're coming out with, which it's barreled the Ryconic is double oaked, and then we age it one more time in toasted barrel.
Third barrel.
Yes. Can you explain toasting again? He's much better with words
on
the distillation level.
So we put a toasted out around January 1st. So we took a double barreled Ryconic at 6 years and put it in a toasted barrel. So basically think of a barrel that's held over a fire at 900 degrees for 6 hours. And so it brings out all the sugars and saccharins and the wood and all the stuff in the barrel. And then they drop it down on the fire for 15 seconds and flash char it. And then they put heads in it and send it to us. And then we put whiskey in it for a third barrel. So after we put water in it for 5 days to bring out all the tannins in the barrel.
Yeah, you want to remove the tannins just so you don't get those off tones in your mouth.
And so you want to dump all that out. So that's a product we have in our gift shop right now, which we're planning to do going forward for next year on the 6-year product. So that's going to be kind of a fun staple of stuff we do this year. And, we have Cara's perfect Danish rye going into this, and that's what makes me excited on it, is I knew this lady went out and bought that 6 years ago.
Yeah. And that's really cool.
It just makes it super fun for me. Like, I'm just kind of like the guru, like the bruiser that runs around and puts crap in barrels. When you got the fun person over here that's done all the work.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Oh, it wasn't work. When you get to travel like that, it's not work anymore.
Yeah. So that's just kind of how we've had fun. So
yeah. So we got to chat a little bit with Jeff before the show started. He so enjoyed talking to you guys, and he's watching, and he commented on here. He wants you to talk about your whole branding, labeling, and marketing scheme. Do you outsource this? Do this in-house? He loves your look. And as you talked about putting Cara's face on, so that kind of led me into this question.
Well, it was a collaboration. We do it in-house. It was a collaboration between myself and a friend of mine who's been in the industry. She and I work really well together. She's a graphic designer. I can scribble something out in terrible, she gets my motif. She understands the way I talk. You know what I mean? So she can usually get a feel and then spit something out where I only have to tweak one or two things. So she's been integral to that, but really this has been the vision, since day one, was a little bit more regal. The branding, just simple. We actually went into liquor stores, and we would look at other people's labels and figure out what we did and didn't like. Things like, is this too busy? Can I read it? Is this script too curly? You know what I mean? Everything we what's going to stand out, but what's going to look good? What are people going to want to pick up? And really, it's been simplicity, and we've gotten great reviews from people like Jeff. Thank you so much. And then also people at liquor store owners really like the look of it, because it's so simple, and it's refreshing to them to see something that's so just easy to read, easy to put on their shelf. They know where to put it. It's, simple. So yeah, that was me and my friend Kate.
Jeff, you're on mute.
Wouldn't be Zoom if you didn't have one person tell you were on mute. But Cara, talk a little bit about how your time at Iowa State, you talked to us a little bit earlier about multiple majors, not really knowing what you wanted to do. But something has to come from your education that blends in with what you're doing now. Can you give us a little bit of insight into where Iowa State does figure into any of this?
I mean, it was the base of my adulthood, if that makes sense. I always loved learning, but when you're a kid and you're going to that next step in life, I always knew I was probably going to go to a 4-year university. I knew I wanted to go somewhere that wasn't huge. I'm originally from Minneapolis, St. Paul. I didn't want to go to the University of Minnesota because I didn't want an urban setting. I wanted a campus, and Iowa State, and that I wanted to feel at home. And when I came for a visit, it just felt right. I had a gut feeling. And so I went for it. I applied, I got in. I would say Iowa State has had something to do with everything that I do. It taught me how to critically think. My time there, I think I did have actually legitimately 7 different majors in at least 2 colleges. I think I have an undeclared minor in history, which that's really where I still have a huge passion for history, but something that I learned at Iowa State was how to admit to my faults too. I had a difficult semester at one point, and I had to withdraw I had so many things happen, life does happen. And Iowa State I felt like I was going to be shamed with forever about it. And it was like, okay, well, that happens. We'll talk to you next semester. Here's your registration date. It was like, it was no big deal. Like, okay, it happens. It's okay. You can start again. So I think it really helped me to learn that, there's compassion in institution, or in the institution and in institutions, being honest and forthright, and asking for what you need when you need it is always the way to go. And then critical thinking in the fact that a lot of my classes were geared toward critical thinking. I did a lot of English. I did a lot of literature. I did a lot of, like I said, history, and analyzing history, analyzing how it impacts how we live today. I would call it cultural studies is really kind of what all the classes that I took were. And Iowa State taught me why we are the way we are, and how to navigate that going forward, I guess.
Thank you. No, I wanted to say to you, Justin, and I said this to you earlier, we want to get you to Iowa so you can see this girl that you've adopted into your life, where she's really from. And we want to get to know you. So I'm going to make this public tonight. Look for an invitation in for a football or basketball game. You'll have to get yourself there, but we'll get your seats. And we'll talk to you about that.
That'll be awesome.
Talk to you about that offline.
Because I'm always showing her how good Iowa did this year in football.
Yeah, Iowa State. And here we're very close to UT. And so I'm surrounded by orange, and I'm like this tiny little Cardinal and Gold island in a sea of orange. And I'm just like, I love my colors so much more.
I was looking at that sweatshirt. I'm sure it comes in an extra large.
It does. Expect one.
He reads well.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull another question from the chat real quick. Kristen asked, can you further explain the relationship with MGP? How do you take their stock to turn it into your recipes and maintain consistent flavor?
That's a good question. The relationship with MGP, they're basically the salespeople, and I am the purchaser. It goes deeper than that, though, because I've known those folks through many iterations of the company. There have been people there for 35 years. Perry's been there since 1979.
Yep,
he used to be the rye buyer. Now he's a salesperson. But I've known that was the first distillery I ever toured back when it was Lawrenceburg Distilling. And it really is kind of like, it's like a hometown place. It's everybody from Lawrenceburg works there or has a family member that works there. So my relationship with them is, supplier and purchasing, but again, it's more than that.
The one thing Cara's not saying here, that was her number one customer as a rye supplier.
There is that too.
It's just simple as that.
And it goes all the way back to my grandfather supplying them with rye as well.
And it's not just her, it's her grandfather and her dad that were doing it. She's being humble,
I guess.
But when she took over the business, she did an amazing job, and she really kicked butt, and everybody there loves her. So there's a big relationship there, and that's when she chose to go in there and get barrels and buy barrels, she was able to kind of do what she wanted to do. She was kind of able to get some good stuff. So,
yeah. And we purchase, or to the next part of the question, we purchase mash bills that I know that they have. Most of the time, they have some very popular mash bills that they sell on a massive scale. Anybody from myself, as small as I am, all the way to like Sazerac or Jim Beam can purchase these mash bills. They're fairly standard mash bills. And then they have a few of the more rare mash bills, or they use a different yeast strain for a mash bill. And because I've just paid attention, I guess, through my career, I've started to be able to know the ins and outs of those. And so when I get samples of things, it really just, I just buy what I like, I guess. And I buy also what I know people will buy.
And it's the other side of that too. She's buying things that are unique.
Yeah. Things that mash bills that they already have, because they're not my recipes. They are really Seagram's recipes. And I'm buying things that nobody else is really buying.
I mean, that just goes to show how important relationship building is and keeping those relationships in a good place, considering that you worked with them then, you have your own thing now, you're back, you're continuing to work with them. So, I mean, that's the same thing with the Alumni Association. Relationships are just so important. So this question has been around on here for a while now. I'm finally getting to it. What is the best seller?
Best seller is our 87 proof bourbon. Of those three right now, our best seller, what would you say? In store?
Our best seller in store is either Tennessee bourbon, which we get from Dickel, and we're very open about that. It's been aged in Memphis, or our lemon vodka.
Yeah, we have a lemon vodka that just tastes like straight up lemonade, and it's very dangerous because it's 61 proof. But again, people
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would encourage everyone to definitely peek around their website, their online shop. We sent you guys straight to our specific bundle, but they have tons more to choose from and to shop from too. So definitely, if you didn't look around.
Yeah, you can also hit us up online. We're very active on our Facebook page. If you have any questions, I'm usually the one who answers. And if you have any questions about anything else that you find on our website, or, ask us, what are you doing anything, or, special or unique,
or the thing, if we have anybody in here from a bourbon group, let's do a single barrel pick. Let's have some fun. Like, that's what we're all about, is like, let's get some samples in there and let's find a distributor and get that stuff somewhere.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We would love to do that. Cool. I would love to do it for her, especially.
You clearly adore her. I love it. I love watching you talk to her and about her.
Yeah, I really do. She's,
I know. And it's funny because I'm super Midwestern, so I'm kind of like, thanks. And super, like, again, Scandinavian, born and bred, and so it's kind of like, okay, thanks.
I'm just an old hillbilly that likes no wine.
Yeah, he's an old hillbilly, and he can say that term.
We had a question from Jeffrey. It seems like a number of distilleries bottle in Indiana. Why is this? Is there a reason?
Is that Proximo?
They don't bottle in Indiana. They buy from Indiana.
Okay.
Yes. And because Indiana is the home of Lawrence of MGP's Bourbon Distillery. And they are I think they are the biggest bourbon producing distillery in the world, it would be in the world.
It's in the world, yes.
Okay. And then a question about shipping restrictions. Do you have the same out-of-state shipping restrictions as the wine industry? Do you have to negotiate with each state? How does that work with shipping?
We hired someone to do it.
There you go.
So they're the ones that handle all of the legal restrictions, regulations, all of that. Therefore, they're also holding all the liability if something happens, or if a state's like, wait, no, you can't. Like we had that happen where a state went back on what they said.
So basically what we do is we send it all to California, and they can ship to 38 states.
Yeah.
And we let them handle it because we don't need that mess.
Yeah.
Period. So.
Yep. Totally understand. That's why we had you guys ship it on. We didn't try to get any of it here to do.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes. Good.
That's why we're doing what we're doing.
Okay. So I saved the best question. One of the best questions for last, I think. Why is bourbon the best spirit?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Because I'm so biased on this one. So I don't like Scotch.
Oh, no. Scotch, no.
Bourbon is the best spirit because it is the most palatable.
Bourbon is the best spirit because it can only be made in the United States.
It's our native spirit.
It is our native spirit, yeah. And bourbon, it lends to everything. You can put it with anything.
You can make it with a cake.
Oh yeah, we actually have a woman who makes cakes and douses them in our bourbon, and then we sell that in store.
Oh gosh, that's awesome.
You can put
Sounds
it on
delicious.
Yeah, you can marinate a steak in it. You can use it in place of vanilla in your baking. Oh my gosh, it's fabulous in like a whipped cream.
Okay.
So good. In cookies.
It's so versatile.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's just amazing. You can make bourbon vanilla, take a vanilla pod and put it in your bourbon bottle. It's really good too.
That's awesome. So if anyone has any more questions for Cara or Justin, please feel free to send them my way and I can connect with them and get those questions answered for you. We're going to do one more prize giveaway. Anyone who has commented, which we've gotten lots of comments, that's fantastic, will be entered into the drawing. Matt is going to pull up a giveaway generator right now for us. We'll wait just a second.
Are we ready? Do we want to wait a few seconds for people to get in?
Does anyone want to do some quick comments to get yourself in the drawing?
We were asking for people's favorites tonight, so we got a lot of comments in the chat. Levi says the straight bourbon. They were torn between the rye and the bourbon. A lot of people really liked the bourbon. I was a big fan of the rye. My glass is empty with the rye, so that was really good stuff. But it looks like we're about 39. Oh, there's 40. All right, we got an even 40, so let's do the draw, okay?
All right, while you're doing that, Cecilia, you can purchase their hoodies online. If you go to their regular website, I'll link it in a follow-up email. But they have a different shop for their liquor and then a second one for merchandise. So, and congratulations to David Battle. Is that how you say your last name?
Right. That sounds right.
We will go ahead and send you another $15 bookstore gift card. Congratulations. So exciting. So Cara and Justin, thank you again so much for partnering with us on this event. We really appreciate and enjoyed learning so much about bourbon and your distillery and everything that you two are doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chelsea, thank you very much.
You're welcome. So that is the end of our program tonight. Thank you all for joining us, and we will have a great rest of your night. Thanks, guys.